we've been talking about train derailments. We've got another one coming off the track we've heard about today near Wickford in Essex. It's the second incident in 24 hours. Yesterday evening, it was a train derailment in Lewes in East Sussex. Christian Wolmar is a rail expert and author of British Rail, A New History. Christian, thanks ever so much for joining us this afternoon. We've had these two derailments. Do you think the causes are linked?
Well, we don't know much about the one in Essex. One can postulate that this might be to do with the weather, but there are other causes of derailments, particularly at points, which is where the rails merge or separate. This looks pretty low speed, no injuries from what we understand. So it might be completely unrelated, but I think it highlights slight concerns about the railways generally. We've had the accident in Bedford, of course, a month or so ago. We had yesterday's incident. I don't think this one would have actually got onto the news if it hadn't been for the one yesterday. But it just points to some concerns about whether safety is being well managed, particularly in the light of what is effectively climate change.
Is it anything? I mean, could it be that the ground is so dry that it's starting to come away and not supporting the tracks so much, or is it the tracks themselves buckling?
Well, it can be either. My suspicion is that the Lewes one is probably more likely to do with the embankment actually getting so dry that it began to sag a bit. And consequently, the train that went over it buckled the rails because they're no longer supported by the embankment, and that may well have been the cause of the incident. It may also have been just that the rails did get buckled because of the intense heat. So we'll have to wait for the Rail Accident Investigation Branch. But I think the wider point here is that there is a lot of concern about climate change generally. There have been incidents. There was one at Shap in Cumbria where a train derailed because of a landslip. There was a fatal accident more than 10 years ago now, but in Scotland as a result of a landslip. This is kind of the opposite problem when there's too little rainfall rather than too much. But the railway authorities are certainly aware of the problems of climate change,
yes,
but they need to maybe address it more urgently.
Christian Wolmar, thanks very much for talking to us, rail expert and author there. And obviously we'll be waiting for the investigation, the proper investigation results into those derailments.
Now, we've been getting news in the last few minutes that another train has derailed. It's a Greater Anglia train which has come off the tracks near Wickford in Essex. This comes just 24 hours after 20 were injured when a train derailed near Lewes in East Sussex. Now, joining me is Tony Miles, writer at Modern Railway magazine. Tony, what can you tell us?
Well, it's still emerging at the moment as to what's happened, but it looks like the rear of the train has derailed, not too seriously in this case. It's bashed into some line-side structures, which has kept it upright, but it's obviously dented it badly. But it's come to rest with the rear of the train just slightly off the rails. Fortunately, nowhere near as serious looking as yesterday's.
And where did this happen?
You just said it. I've had to log out to speak to you, so I can't remember where
it's Wickford in Essex. I'm
Wickford,
not quite sure. Is that at a station or is it in the middle of in between?
From the I've just seen one picture, and I can't see any platforms actually adjacent to the train.
Right.
So it looks like it's not actually in a station itself.
So obviously we're speculating here, but this is two derailments within 24 hours. I mean, is there thoughts that this is heat related? Should people be worried about getting on trains?
I suspect that both have. Both the incidents have happened. If you notice, it's been the rear of the train in both cases that has suffered the either big derailment or the little one. So the train passing over a piece of track has caused something to happen to the track progressively as the train's vibrated it as it's gone over. In many cases,
explain that a little bit more. Sorry.
Okay, yeah. So it's the back of the train that's derailed yesterday and today. The front bit's gone over the piece of track okay, and then something has happened underneath the train that perhaps the arrival of the front bit vibrating the rails in some way has made something happen to the track. I think that's what's emerging, and in which case possibly it could be linked to the very hot weather. One of the reasons they've been slowing trains around the country and the heat waves is the faster a train's going, the more it vibrates the track. And if there's something that's unstable underneath it, then obviously the faster it's going, the more it makes the tracks shake around and can trigger something to happen, like a buckle or a collapse of the embankment or something. We're seeing people worried about the railway being too dry now, and there's been speed restrictions on a few bits of the railway for months now because they've never had the track dry out in nearly 200 years as much as it has in the last year or two.
I'm getting a message here from someone saying, according to Rail Forum UK, it's between Rayleigh and Wickford. So anyway, we'll get more on this in Drive. That was Tony Mars, their writer at Modern Railway magazine. Thank you for talking to me.